Acts chapter 2, verse 41. This is the response to that Shavuot message that was a resurrection message that Shimon preached. Or to keep it alliterated, that he shared. How many people respond?
3,000.
3,000. And that doesn't include the women and children. All right, Acts chapter 4, verse 4. Look at what the number is now.
5,000.
5,000. And again, not including the women and the children. So you can do the mathematical extrapolation from there. Acts chapter 21 and verse 20.
Many thousands.
Many thousands of Jews, and they are all zealous for the Torah. Now look, let me set the scene. The traveling rabbi, itinerant rabbi, shows up in Jerusalem, and he's met there by James, Yaakov, Yeshua's brother. This is obviously before he got tossed over the temple, off the temple wall, obviously. And he talks about how the people in Jerusalem were responding to the rabbi's message. And as part of that, he says, there are thousands of Jews in this city who are zealous for the Torah. And they are part of those who respond. Thousands. The term literally is tens of thousands. Now, grammar for you again. In Hebrew, you have a singular and a plural, but you also have a dual form. If it's thousands, it is the plural form. All right? And if it's literally tens of thousands, that's still the plural form. That means how many people at minimum?
10,000.
No, tens of thousands, plural.
20,000.
No, because that's dual. No, at least 30,000. Okay? At least 30,000 practicing Jews were Messianic in Jerusalem. It raises the question, so how large was Jerusalem in those days? Estimates vary, but the best estimate, or most commonly accepted one, is 70,000. What proportion of 70,000 is at least 30,000? You getting it? At least half of Jerusalem were Messianic. Are you getting the picture? All right. Next. Comes a statement from a scholar of the Second Temple period. I don't know, he lived in the Second Temple period. He's a scholar about the Second Temple period. His name is Samuel Bagatti. B-A-G-A-T-T-I. He pointed out, now first of all, before we even get there, let's go down to E. Acts 9:2. And asked him, this is the rabbi, Rav Shul, asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. Even as far away as Damascus, they were to be found in the synagogues. All right, so it wasn't just Jerusalem. All right, now, Bagatti says that the first 100,000 followers of Yeshua were all Jews. So there were 100,000 of us before there was ever a Gentile, he's telling us. Neander, father of church history, I've noted it for you. He says by the end of the first century, in Israel alone, there were 1 million Messianic Jews. That's somewhere between a third and maybe 40% of the population.
Aren't the Christians all Messianic Jews? They believe in Jesus. They're Messianic Jews.
Not unless they converted to Judaism.
But what's that mean?
That means they formally became Jews. They went through the conversion process.
So we're all Jews.
There were Gentiles. Remember the Gentile question of Acts 15. Mm-hmm. What's required of Gentiles? 4 things, the Noahide laws. And they remain as Gentiles.
You're still all their teachers, so.
That's not the point that he's making here.
No.
The point he's making here, and the point I'm making in this section is, how many Jews?
Tomato.
No, it's not tomato. It's a difference between tomato and a banana. And I mean that very seriously. Okay? We're talking just about Jews who lived as Jews who are now followers, and we're talking about the percentage of Jews in Israel.
Yes, sir.
Israel always had some Gentiles, so we don't know how many Gentiles. And elsewhere, we know from Acts 15 that there are Gentiles. Right? Where was I? Neander. Rather than Lindsay, let me quote to you from Epiphanius and from Jerome. Epiphanius. He's writing near the end of the 4th century. Epiphanius is reflecting back on history. And he says, and I'm quoting him, "We shall now especially consider Nazarenes." Who might Nazarenes be?
From Nazareth.
No, those would be Nazarites, but close.
People who believe in Yeshua.
People who believe in the one called Jesus the Nazarene. People who believe in Yeshua. He says they are mainly Jews and nothing else. By the way, for him that was not positive. Okay, just so we know. Back to the text. They make use not only of the New Testament, but they also use in a way the Old Testament of the Jews. For they do not forbid the books of the law, the prophets, and the writings. They practice circumcision, persevere in the observance of those customs which are enjoined by the law, and are so Judaic in their mode of life that they even adore Jerusalem as if it were the house of God. So that they are approved of by the Jews. End of the 4th century. Approved of by the Jews. Still part of the Jewish community. You with me? That's important because a lot of people don't understand it and they'll get it right when they teach it. All right. Back to Epiphanius. They are approved of by the Jews, from whom the Nazarenes do not differ in anything. And they profess all the dogmas pertaining to the prescriptions of the law and do the customs of the Jews, except they believe in Christ. They preach that there was but one God and his Son, Jesus Christ, but they are very learned in the Hebrew language. 4th century, still spoke Hebrew? Okay, back. For they, like the Jews, read the whole Torah, then the prophets. Catch that? The Parsha, then the Haftarah, as we do in the synagogue. It's a synagogue reading cycle of the synagogue. They differ from the Jews because they believe in Christ, and from the Christians in that they are to this day bound to the Jewish rites, such as circumcision, the Sabbath, and other ceremonies. That's the historical testimony coming from the 4th century. Jerome, 5th century, puts it this way. Concerning the Nazarenes, they are found in all the synagogues of the East. What's he talking about? He's talking about this part of the empire. They are found in all the synagogues of the East.